You don't want a jacket. You're good.
No, this is great. This
Okay.
is great. So I would love for you to introduce yourself to my audience.
Tell me what we're on.
Yes, we're on. Go.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Chaim Steinberger. I'm an attorney in New York City. I practice primarily matrimonial and family law. I am also a mediator, an arbitrator, and I serve as a mediator on half a dozen panels for the New York State Supreme Court Commercial Division, which is complex commercial matters, for the Southern District of New York, the federal courthouse, for the matrimonial mediation project, for the attorney-client fee dispute program. So I'll do mediation and dispute resolution in any area, but I'm really focused, my litigation practice is really focused on matrimonial and family law.
Mm. So if someone was coming to you to be their attorney, how is that different than them coming to you for mediation?
So if somebody wants to consider hiring me to be a mediator, then I would not see one party without the other, because if one party comes in, then I've destroyed my neutrality. The moment you start listening to somebody's story, you're, I guess, a soft heart.
Yeah.
After 5 or 10 minutes, now you sort of side with that party, and now you want that party to win. And so if I am to be a neutral mediator, then I can't do that. And if somebody will call me up, I'll say, get your spouse on the line, let's do it together if you want to consider me as a mediator.
I kind of made this mistake recently. I was hired by this man to coach him and then also to talk to his wife to try to gain clarity and to get her on the right track. And I realized after that talking to him for 90 minutes and then privately talking to her, it was hard because you could end up, oh my God, I can't let something slip and then pin them against each other.
And now you're aligned with one party. And once you're aligned, you can't unalign, and the other person senses it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
luckily for me, I have the benefit of the study of law, and we have these very strict rules about the duties of loyalty. So, for example, the New York Rules of Professional Conduct says that if I'm representing one party and I'm talking to the adversary, I am not permitted to give the adversary any advice.
Wow.
Other than get yourself a good lawyer. I can't say, if I were you, I would do this. Why? Because whenever you give somebody advice, implicit within that, when your friend calls you up and says, what should I do, Chelsea? What should I do? Your friend is relying on the fact that you're going to put her interest ahead of yours.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden later she finds out that you had a business interest in it and you told her to buy something because you were going to make money, she'd feel betrayed.
Right.
And so whenever you give somebody advice, implicit within the giving somebody advice is that you're going to put their interest ahead and you're telling them what's right for their benefit.
Right.
But if I'm representing this party and I'm giving advice to the other party, if I'm representing this party, every move I make, every word I utter, every position I take is to advantage my client. And if I give the other party advice, I'm giving them advice to screw them.
Right.
And so just to be clear, New York Rules of Professional Conduct say that if I'm speaking, I can negotiate against the party, but I can't give them advice. And if I give them, the only advice I can give an adverse party is get yourself a lawyer. Get yourself a good lawyer. I'll add the word good to it. Get yourself a good lawyer. Because a bad lawyer is worse. I tell people, 2 things you hope never to need is a doctor and a lawyer. But if you need one, you need the best you can afford, because a bad doctor and a bad lawyer is worse than no doctor, no lawyer.
Yeah, my dad always says no one goes to a party and brags about having the cheapest attorney.
Okay.
So have you ever felt like, oh God, I wish I could help them? Or do you ever, or have you been always able to like compartmentalize your feelings or your curiosity about the person that you can't help? So I feel like you have to really cut off, you could have this client, but not to care too much about the other.
Let me see if I can answer it. Cut to the chase and bottom line. I live and die with every client. The reason I do the work that I do, I went to law school later in life, so I had 4 or 5 different lifetimes before I went to law school.
Wow.
It was a wonderful advantage because when I went to law school, I saw the practical import. All of the classes that my classmates thought were incredibly boring, I thought were fascinating and powerful. This is like you're giving me the operating instructions to a Sherman tank. I may not be big and strong, and kids beat me up during lunch. They didn't really, but and you're now telling me how I can drive a Sherman tank onto the schoolyard, and nobody's going to bully me when I'm in a Sherman tank.
Right.
And so the law allows, imagine this, if I could be taking a deposition of the President of the United States and say, I want a list of every subordinate that you ever kissed.
Mm-hmm.
And the president will look to his lawyer and say, I don't have to give him that, right? And the lawyer goes, you got to give him that. And you know that you strike me as somebody, it seems like I've got a couple of years on you. And so you may not know.
You might.
Do you know what I'm referring to?
The Sherman, the tank?
No, the deposition of a president.
Oh, I know the deposition of a president. Are you talking about one in particular?
I'm talking about very much one in particular. Bill Clinton was deposed because of his relationship with his subordinates. The President of the United States and a simple little country lawyer got to sit opposite the president and ask him questions. And because he lied at that deposition, was later impeached. Not convicted, but impeached. In other words, the rules of procedure, the stuff that all of my classmates thought, this is so dry, this is so boring, I can't stand this class. They give us this tremendous power. We get to operate the machinery of the state in order to ascertain the truth and do justice for our clients. Imagine that, right? You're giving us, the sword and shield. And so I went to law school, did rather well, worked for some of the largest law firms in the country. I clerked for a federal judge. As you know, federal judges are appointed by the President of the United States with the advice and consent of the Senate. And until our current president, most other presidents made sure that the only people they nominated were really top-notch, top-caliber people. So the federal bench, until recently, the federal bench, whenever anybody went into federal court, you knew you were going to have a smart, sharp judge who would do justice. And so, and they're appointed for life. So I clerked for a judge. I got to be in chambers. I had the unique opportunity once when my judge made a ruling, and I asked him, Judge, why do you rule this way? I would have thought you'd rule the other way. And so I had the unique opportunity to see what makes a judge, a smart, good judge, rule the way he did. What arguments move him? What arguments didn't move him?
Right.
And then I went back to work for another large firm, for Morgan, Lewis & Bacchus, the 4th largest law firm in the country. And during this period of time, I went through my own rather nasty divorce. I said to myself, there's got to be a better way. So I now practice that better way. I protect and defend people. I shepherd people through the terror of divorce and guide them out so that they come out the other side without having destroyed everything they love.
So what do you think for most people is like the biggest fear that the terror is going to be? When people think, oh my God, this is going to destroy me. What is that destruction? What are they fearful of for the most part?
So there's so much, and of course it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's different likely for men and women. You may know this. They say that for men, losing a job is more traumatic than getting divorced.
Really? No, I have not heard that, but...
When you meet somebody at a cocktail party, what are the first 2 questions you ask them?
Yeah, what do you do?
Right? And so men typically define themselves by their occupation.
Right.
I am a lawyer. That is who I am. You take that away from me, and I feel an existential threat.
Right.
Women very frequently define themselves by their relationships. I'm a wife, I am a mother, I'm an aunt, I'm a best friend.
A role.
The roles of relationship.
Yeah.
And so if you take a woman and you threaten her wifedom and motherhood, she feels that existential crisis.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
It may not even be a rational thing. It may be, oh my God, I'm dying. And then so that's the sort of the subtext to it.
Mm-hmm.
Add to that her motherhood. Her children may in fact be in play, be in danger of being taken away from her. Her financial independence for the next 20 or 30 years is in play. Where she will live, how she will support herself, her entire world. So
Mm-hmm.
not only her primary relationships, but also her entire world comes into play. That's pretty terrifying.
Definitely.
For
Definitely.
a man, it may be his relationship to his children, his ability to keep his home. Where is he going to live? Is she going to get half of his business? How will he continue? How will he move on? How will he survive? So it's also pretty terrifying. He may not feel as much an existential threat by it, but he feels threatened by it.
And so what is the protection that you kind of come in? Like, what are they looking for you? Like, make sure that she doesn't get everything that I have?
So the biggest, most important, the biggest advantage, the most important thing I can do for my clients
Mm-hmm.
is give them a sense of safety and security. That they will know that I am going to take care of them and they will get a good result. Now, a good result doesn't mean one point on the spectrum. A good result may be a range,
Uh-huh.
but it will be within that range. Now, here's another little principle. The more threatened you are, the more narrow your vision becomes, your field of vision becomes.
Okay.
So if you feel really, really threatened, when you get hit with that adrenaline, the fight or flight response, you get tunnel vision,
Right.
and you think there's only one way out. If I can give my clients a sense of safety and that they know they will be okay. We don't know how, we don't know where. When you make your first chess move, you sort of have a game plan. You don't know exactly how because we don't know what the other side is going to do.
Right.
You know what they say? The best laid battle plan doesn't survive the first contact with the enemy. So you adjust everything. But if you're a smart chess player, you have a sense of how it's going to play out, and you have a sense of what your moves are and how you're going to play the game. If I can give my client a sense of safety so that they can now take that more expansive view, and if somehow I can transmit this through opposing counsel to the opposing party, that I am a tough negotiator, but I'm going to be fair, so that we can each take that deep breath. Then, by working collaboratively, each side can get more.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently published an article, Divorce Without Destruction. I'm always very self-conscious because I'm afraid people will think that divorce without destruction means walk away, just don't rock the boat. And that's not what I mean at all. What I say is I will get you a better result, likely. Can't promise. I will likely get you a better result. I will likely get you more money and more of whatever it is that's important to you by being more cooperative.
Right.
So there are some who don't have the skills to do what I do or don't know how to go about doing what I do. And they walk in, it's like taking lighter fluid and just, you know the word I want to use.
Yes.
And just pouring it over the hot embers. And I argue that that won't help your client. That the better way to do it is be strategic and establish rapport with the other side and take a principled position.
Mm-hmm.
The Professors Fisher and Uri of the Harvard Negotiation Project,
Yes,
Getting to Yes, using principled negotiation instead of just positional bargaining, and people will get more.
Yeah, I read a blog of yours that talks about that. I think it was a blog, and the whole positional bargaining versus principle of negotiation. I was curious if you could talk about how someone in a relationship, before they're getting divorced, before they're breaking up, could take this approach in arguments. Like, what's the difference between a positional bargaining and a principled negotiation? What does that mean?
Okay. So let me take its most basic concept. We have a bowl of jelly beans, and Chelsea, you and I are fighting over who gets how many jelly beans.
Mm-hmm.
What process do we use to decide who gets the jelly beans? Is it who's bigger, who's stronger? Is it who can beat the other one up? Is it who screams louder? Is it who's more intransigent? Is it who's got a bigger stick, a bigger knife, a bigger gun, a bigger lawyer who's willing to spend more money and burn the whole house down? If we use any one of those processes, at the end of the day, even if I get all the jelly beans, I am going to be upset with you.
Wow.
You and I will never again be able to be partners and work together.
Mm.
Because in the back of my mind, I will always have the bad feeling over the fight that we had, even if I win. If I lose, it's even worse. Principal negotiation would be, let's say you and I say, we agree that we will use fairness. We'll distribute the jelly beans on the basis of fairness. Now, what do you think is fair? What do I think is fair? And I may say, well, I didn't have lunch today and I'm really hungry, so I should get all the jelly beans. And you may say, well, you paid for them. And I may say, yes, but you got them last time. And you may say, yes, but if you eat them, they're gone. I'm going to use them in my display in the window and I'm going to make $1 million from it. Right? And we can continue this discussion all day and all night. And in fact, if we do it in a respectful way, the discussion will bring us closer together. And whether I win or lose, I will feel better about you. I will feel better about our relationship. So if we have children in common, we don't have to be angry at each other to get divorced. And this leads into the whole love and true love. I ask people, do you believe in love and true love, and what's the difference between the two? But we'll come back to that if you'd like.
I'd like to, yes.
If you're in a relationship, do everything you can to make it the best fantastic relationship you could make it. But if there's no way, no how that this relationship will be good, if it's a square peg and round hole, and my partner can't give me what I so desperately need, then you get one merry-go-round ticket. You may as well make it count. Why stay in a relationship that can't work, that can't ever light up your life? We, you and I and our listeners, we're all entitled to the joy of life.
Yeah.
I argue that this is the first time in human history that we have the luxury of divorce.
Explain that.
What?
Explain that.
Okay. So do you know how this is the first time in human history that obesity is an issue?
Yeah.
Right? 500 years ago, it was only the Burgermeister and his daughter who were obese.
Uh-huh.
Everybody else, the human race didn't produce enough calories to sustain itself. And so if you wanted to eat 300 calories, you had to go berry picking for a month and a half to get to 300 calories. This is the first time in human history that you can take a buck that represents what, a moment or two of your productive output, and pick up a Snickers bar, and you get 300 calories.
Wow. Yeah.
500 years ago, if you weren't married, you died. You could not catch the rabbit, collect the firewood, clean the rabbit, cook the rabbit, plow the field, cut the wheat, dress the wheat, and then grind it and bake it. You just couldn't do that. And so it was really important for every parent to make sure that their child was married. Who you were married to is not important. You need to be married. If you're not married, you die.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we have this luxury. We can be unmarried. There's takeout. There are restaurants. We each
Delivery, there's everything.
we each want to be in relationships, but if we're not in a relationship, we're not going to die.
Right.
And so for the first time in human history, who we are married to can be more important than just being married.
Wow.
And that's a great luxury.
Mm.
And in the very profound words of Ally McBeal, the only thing worse than being alone is being alone with the wrong person.
Yeah.
So if I was telling you earlier, my ex-wife, smart, industrious, intelligent, competent, she couldn't give me what I wanted and needed. She couldn't. Not because she didn't want to, but she couldn't. And so we can get divorced, and there's no need for me to be angry at her.
Mm.
There would be no need for her to be angry at me, but that's a whole other story. And two people can get divorced without being upset with each other.
Wow.
Do you know the story of the scorpion and the frog?
No.
This frog is at the side of a river. And the scorpion comes over and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Frog, it's very important. Can I ask you for a very important favor?" And the frog says, "What's that?" And the scorpion says, it's so important, I need to get to the other side of the river. Would you please, please, please give me a ride across? And the frog goes, "No, I'm not stupid. You're going to sting me, and then I'm going to sink and die."
Yeah.
And the scorpion goes, "Ugh, if I sting you, you sink and die, but then I die too."
Uh-huh.
The frog goes, "Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, hop aboard." And the frog is halfway across the river, and he feels a sting. And he goes, "What'd you do that for? Now we're both going to sink and die." And the scorpion goes, "I know, but I'm a scorpion."
Oh my God.
Right? So
I got it.
is there any reason I inherited a cat from an old girlfriend. I was like, why can't she just be a little bit more like a dog? Why can't she just wipe her paws when she comes out of the litter box? I explained it to her. I showed her how. I told her how important it is. Why can't she just? Now, whenever anybody says, whenever a client, whenever somebody goes, why can't he just? Why can't she just?
Yeah.
They can't.
Wow. Wow.
Take a look at the risk of getting into the controversial territory. Donald Trump can only be Donald Trump.
Right.
You can't expect him to be somebody else. He is who he is.
Right. And he's made that very clear, right? That's also the other thing.
Clear.
No
We all did that before.
Yeah.
He's just being who he is.
Right.
And shame on us that
for going crazy and thinking it should be something different. Yeah.
We knew it. We knew it. So when people come in here and they say, "Oh, I'm really, what was it you didn't know about your spouse?"
Wow. Okay.
Okay. The woman who comes to me and says, "Oh my God, I need a divorce. I can't stand him. He's so unreliable. He can't hold a job. He's smoking pot all the time. He gets fired from his job. He leaves his socks everywhere. I leave him for 2 hours to watch the baby, and he calls this woman up from Craigslist and have sex in the next room. You gotta get me out of this." And I let her go on for an hour or two. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, just because I'm interested in this stuff, and I ask her, "So tell me, why'd you marry him?" And she goes, "Oh my God, he was such a free spirit."
Right. Yes.
And so
wait, dare I ask then, with your ex-wife, did you know that she would never be able to give to you what you needed? Was there the sign there?
So I wasn't smart enough to know what I needed.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yes. And most people don't have. So here's the deal. I belong to way too many bar associations. We had a dinner with the matrimonial judge, and I ended up somehow sitting next to the judge's law clerk. Mm-hmm. A woman, married a couple of years. And you may have gotten this from me. I'm very quiet and shy and reserved. I barely talk at all.
Right.
And so I let everything else go, and everybody's talking, and I'm content to be there quietly. And then it comes a point towards the end of the dinner, and she looks at me and says something, and I'm like, "Oh, you want to play? Okay." And we start talking. And I say something like, "Okay, so you know your husband well." She's like, What do you mean? Of course I know him well. We've been married for 2 years and we were engaged for 3, we were together for 3 years before that.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, what makes your husband feel loved? And her jaw drops open and her eyes go wide. And she has this feeling of aghast. Oh my God, I don't even know. I don't know what my husband wants. And then I'm like, okay, just to make you feel a little better, what makes you feel loved?
Wow.
And can you answer that? I don't know if you want to. You don't have to right here, right now. But do you know the answer to that?
I think I do, but I think a lot of people's response is, what makes me feel loved is someone else loving me. It's almost like they use the same word back. A lot of people don't, people say they want a nice guy. Well, what does nice look like to you? It's not the same thing to everyone. Does that mean that they treat your family a certain way? Does that mean that are you disagreeing?
I'm disagreeing because I think most people don't have self-awareness, that most people will give you a trite answer. I had this great,
I hate it.
I don't know how many tangents you'll permit me to go off on, but so can I run something on you?
Go for it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to give me as many answers as you can, as quickly as you can.
Oh, God. Not a game. Okay, go.
Okay. List as many colors as you can. Go.
Blue, green, orange, yellow, purple, violet, gray, black, white, beige, red, pink.
Okay. Here's what usually happens. You did a variation of it. Typically, when you ask the question, the person goes blue, black, yellow, green, the primary color is red. And then all of a sudden, they become a little bit flustered. You hear them go, and then after the people typically come up with really interesting colors. Fuchsia,
right.
Glitter. I don't know. What are all the colors of the, who was it who wrote that book that said you've got to love women that have 26 different shades of green when you buy shoes? And what do I know? It's green.
Yeah.
But for many women, no, that's not the green I'm looking for. Right? And so I had a friend who became a kindergarten teacher, and she went to her kindergarten teacher and asked for advice. And her teacher's advice to her was, you always have to listen to the post answer.
Wow.
Give him a chance to go through the whatever her initial responses are, and then wait for the and then listen, because the post answers are always so much more interesting than the off-the-cuff answers. When people say, I want a nice guy, that's sort of quick and easy. That may even be aspirational. So people want themselves to be that. Really, I would say, if you have anybody who's divorced, okay, let's say you've got a best friend who's divorced, ask your divorced friend, what are the similarities between her ex-husband and her father?
Okay.
And then you'll start to see, oh wait, they were both strong personalities. They both liked to drink. They both fixed their cars. They both rode motorcycles. And it may be those qualities that attracted her to him.
Yeah.
She wants a nice guy. Yes. And then I've got another friend who says whenever he goes to a restaurant, he pushes in, walks up to maitre d', slips him a 50, cuts the line. And I'm looking at him, and he goes, yeah, I know it's a dick move, but it totally turns my wife on.
Yeah.
Right? So what we think we want is oftentimes different than what we really want.
Right.
And it all goes back to the childhood wounds and what we really need. I dated this woman. I said, so tell me, Annie, what makes you feel loved? And she says, well, my parents never had time for us. So whenever they wanted us to feel loved, they'd buy me stuff. So if you want me to feel loved, you'd buy me stuff.
Wouldn't it be just show me time? Give me your time?
That wasn't what did it for her.
Wow. I would think that she'd want to correct. Like that she'd see the gifts as an excuse. Like that was the thing she would end up hating, because she knows that was just, it wasn't an honest demonstration of love. It was all they could give. That you'd want what you weren't given.
Do you know the there's a book out there. I didn't particularly like the book, but I probably shouldn't say that here. There's a book out there called The Five Languages of Love.
So everyone talks about that book. Yes, I know it.
So the concept is spot on.
Yeah.
What makes you feel loved? To you, it may be time. To me, it may be
Affirmation or words. What is it?
well, maybe it is time. I love deep conversation.
Me too. That's what I love.
Okay? So I'll give you, am I revealing anything too personal? One session at my marriage counseling, oh, so many years ago, where the marriage counselor looked at me and said, okay, what are you unhappy with? What do you want? I said, when I come home after work, I just want her to listen to me.
Yeah.
And he turns to her and says, what do you say? She goes, what are you talking about? I cook and I clean and I made so many dishes at night and you want me to do more?
Yeah.
No, I want you to do less. Cut everything else in half. Cook half as much, clean half as much. Whatever you do, do half as much. When I come home, just listen to me.
Yeah.
Like, I do enough for you, I'm not doing more.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that she couldn't even hear me.
Right, yes.
She couldn't even imagine what it was that I wanted.
Right.
Because for you, it seems to come really natural. Of course, yes, just give me time. I dated this fantastic woman. Oh my God, she was so wonderful. Beautiful and smart and intelligent and industrious. And then my favorite radio show ever is on NPR called, wait, don't tell me. Do you know it?
No.
It's a current events comedy news quiz. Smart and funny as all heck. And so I was totally waiting to share the joy of listening to it with her. Mm-hmm. And she fell asleep during it. And it was like, and I feel stupid even saying it. It's like, really? You broke up because of that? Well, not really because of that, but sort of because of that.
No, I feel you on that. I can be the same way, yes.
This is, if you have something brings you such joy and you want to share it with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's not working for them. And they're like, okay, I'm going to sit through this because I know you like it. And she fell asleep in my arms, which was really great and wonderful. But it was like, okay, so that means I can't share this with her.
Yeah.
Now I'm feeling so morose.
But I'm the same way, and there's a lot of people that would say that just get on with it. Be able to listen to that thing on your own. She doesn't need to enjoy it. I guess this is where just people are different, though. I don't think maybe you should have to sacrifice everything. If this is something that I think part of it is you want to know that the thing that lights you up would light them up too.
So wait a second. I was dating this woman. We're on the subway home. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting next to her, holding her hand, and looking around to see if I could start a conversation with somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, that doesn't work. If I'm looking to start a conversation with somebody else, that means this relationship doesn't work.
Wow.
There's nothing that makes me sadder than walking into a restaurant and seeing an old married couple sitting next to each other and they don't have anything to say to each other.
Yeah.
Right? But you're right. Some people say, so maybe people have said that I am, shall we say, eccentric. Mm-hmm. Okay. I love my work. I love my hobbies. I love life. I live and die with every client. Mm-hmm. But and I want to enjoy if I'm with somebody. So there are things maybe, if I'm in a relationship and it's pretty good, I will say, okay, can I make up my mind that I will forego whatever this relationship doesn't have and I will never give it another thought and never hold it against the person.
Right.
But I can't. If I hold it against the person, I will build up resentment. And at some point they will sense that and then the marriage is doomed anyway.
Agreed.
So if you're blaming somebody for something. So I have to decide. And for me, if I can't have a certain amount of an intellectual connection and conversation. So there have been people who said, there's somebody I respect a lot. And when I told him I want a woman when I come home at night for her face to light up and be happy to see me, who said, well, if that's what you want, Chaim, get a puppy.
Right.
And that's one way. There are people that they'll get a puppy and they get the love from the puppy and their relationship is just, I argue that 98% of all people are in barely tolerable jobs and tolerable relationships. I'd rather hold out. I've experienced love once in my life. I'm going to wait to have love. I'd rather not be in a relationship than be in a relationship where I don't have that sense of I'm walking on clouds, I'm riding a unicorn over rainbows every day.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing that could happen to me is to be committed in one relationship and then I do meet somebody and I'm drawn away because that's disrespectful to the person I'm with. And it's disrespectful to me. So if the relationship isn't enough for me, then if I can make up my mind that it's enough for me. So the woman I was in love with, her articulation of this dilemma that you posed was, we all agree that compromise is good. We all agree that settling is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when does it stop being compromise and
Yeah.
stop being settling?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're just making a compromise, that may be fine. But if it comes to a point where there's something lacking, where you need to go out somewhere else and find it,
Right.
and it may be, for somebody it may be fishing, for somebody else it may be volleyball, for somebody else it may, and there may be things that you do together, and so you don't listen to your radio program together. It may not be, but to me that may have been an indicator of the boundaries of the relationship and what's possible. And I did need that because I do need somebody to understand what I'm saying and where I'm going. I have to tell you, I've got 2 kittens at home. I think they have ADHD. I come home and I say, let me tell you about this wonderful brief I drafted today. And they're like, string, let me play with a string. And so the love I get from them is a different quality love.
Oh my God.
Right? I dated this woman. She said she's allergic to cats and to chocolate. So I bought her a Kit Kat bar.
You're crazy. Oh my God. Is that true? Okay, let me ask you something.
Really dating, we were friends, but
let me ask you something. Have you felt that, so you're able to say that now you wouldn't settle and you've been through a divorce and you see a lot of your clients going through divorce. Do a lot of them come out on the other side and they too realize that they're not going to just settle, that they're going to hold out for a certain love? Do you see any transformation afterwards for them in terms of how they're going to approach relationships in the future?
Too many people will just blame the other party.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it's a struggle even for me. I dated a woman, and my diagnosis is that she treats every man she dates the way her mother treated her father.
Right.
And every once in a while, I'm overcome with an urge to be angry at her. Like, why can't you just realize?
Right.
And I have to remind myself, I'm a Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
We only know what we know.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. If you don't know that there is something better out there, then you don't know to chase it. The Talmud says, Ein halev chomed al ma she'ayin roeh. The heart cannot desire but that which the eye sees. If you don't know something exists, then you can't want it, you can't desire it, you can't strive for it, you can't work for it. And so, if you've never felt love, you don't know to hold out for it. I've been fortunate that I've experienced love once in my life, way after my marriage. And that's why I know I'm not going to settle for anything less.
Right.
And so, now, there's a sophisticated concept that distinguishes between blame and responsibility.
Mm.
So if when we end this conversation, you are upset with me, then I should take responsibility for my part in it, that I must have done something that caused that. That doesn't mean I did anything wrong.
Mm.
It just means that if I want to be an intelligent negotiator, that I think through what are the moves I made that got me to this place.
Okay.
Okay? Whereas my ex used to say, honey, I didn't say it was your fault. I said I was going to blame you. Right? So blame and responsibility.
Wait, what?
No, okay, that was the reverse play on it, right?
Oh my God.
Okay. So we can, and if you want, I don't know how much time we have. One of these days I'll have to tell you the story of my killer eyebrows. But that's a whole story in and of itself.
It sounds like it. Killer eyebrows.
Oh, it's a great story. And so this idea of I take responsibility, I am sitting right here, right now, in the way that I am because of the choices I made.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can take responsibility for those choices. And there's no reason for me to be upset with my ex. In fact, I sort of owe her an apology because I knew some of the things that I knew and I never shared it with her. And perhaps if I would have been open with her, she wouldn't have entered into the marriage.
Mm.
And so I do feel some guilt about it. This idea, but too often we blame others. Well, that person didn't do this and that person didn't do that. And if only they did this, we would have had a perfect marriage. Why can't they do this? And we're so busy feeling angry and vindictive that we don't turn inside and look at ourselves and say, okay, why did I get into this? Why did I agree? If I'm in an abusive relationship, why did I agree to be in an abusive relationship? Why did I put up with it? Why did I not see it at all? Did I not have any inklings of it? People come in here sometimes and they go, my spouse just sued me for divorce. This came out of the blue. This is a complete surprise. And I'm like, really? You've been living with your spouse for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you don't know if they're ecstatically happy or if they've got one foot out the door?
Right.
Invariably, they go, well, I knew they weren't really happy. I'm like, okay, and you ignored it. You just said, fine, we'll move on.
Right.
I know my spouse is unhappy, but I'm going to keep on trucking. And so perhaps you should take responsibility for that.
I love that. This did not just come out of the blue.
It never does.
It never does.
And I think it's so silly. People ask, what happened? Whose fault was it?
Right.
Never one fault. So one person cheated. What did this person do for them to cheat? What did this person do for them to do what they did? What did this person do? It's always like an onion, peeling the layers. If you and I are connected and we feel tight, then I can't cheat on you because I love you too much. And if you know, I had a guy come tell me, I'm upset my wife thinks I'm cheating on her. I'm like, yeah, but you told me you are. Yes, but she doesn't know that.
Stop.
And I'm like, of course she does. She senses that you don't have the stronger relationship.
Right.
And so the moment you feel that you're separating, what did you do to bring it back? What did you do to win him over? What do you do? What makes your partner feel loved? And what do you do every day to keep that marriage fresh and alive and wonderful? We can take responsibility. We may not be 100% responsible, but we put the pieces in play. If I move my chess piece here, you have to move your chess piece there. I force you. And so if you're a good player and you're playing against a good player, you can compel the other player to make certain moves. And so when you do something, you get everything you do has an effect on the other person.
Right.
And so what's the straw that broke the camel's back? Who cares? What's the first thing that we did? I
Wow.
love it. I give another talk on prenuptial agreements. So the title of my talk is Prenups, Helpful or Harmful? Because I argue, too often the prenuptial agreement plants the seed for exactly the result you don't want.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's write a prenup. Your money is yours and my money is mine, and we're going to have separate bank accounts, and we're going to live separately, and this way if we get divorced, I don't get anything from you, you don't get anything from me. I'm like, oh, so you're agreeing to be roommates,
Right.
right?
Right.
In essence, you've now created a relationship that's no more than roommates.
Right.
So what do you want your relationship to be? How do you imagine joining forces and becoming entwined and becoming one? And how do you?
You're a romantic.
I am.
Yeah, you are. Was not expecting this.
Totally.
Mm.
And so how do you say, I love you, I love you, I love you, but if it doesn't work out, what do I get?
Right.
You can't really say that. And so too often, a prenup sows the seed for disaster. I think this came from, there's very little that I gained from my marriage counseling. I think this was one of the tidbits.
There was very little that you gained.
That I gained. I paid $10,000 or $12,000 for marriage counseling.
Yeah.
The one thing that I attribute, which is totally worth $10,000, do you know about I statements?
I imagine I know what they are.
Shall I ask you, or?
Maybe don't put me on the spot, I guess. I did a bad
Okay.
job with the colors, so go.
So instead of saying, you insulted me when you didn't wait for me at the party,
Yeah.
right? That's an accusation. The person being accused now feels defensive. Very likely they might counter-accuse, and now you're spiraling down. You know about the work of John Gottman?
Yeah.
Okay. So he says he can predict with 95% accuracy whether people will stay together or not.
Gosh.
And he says that people who love each other and stay together don't fight less often than people who hate each other and get divorced, but they fight differently. There's a way of fighting fairly. So this is an unfair fight where you make an accusation. You never pick me up. Okay. And so the idea of using I statements is, instead of accusing the other person, to make a statement about how you feel with it all internally. So when you left the party ahead of me and I didn't know where you were, I felt abandoned.
Yeah.
I felt like you didn't love me.
Right.
Now, the hard thing about that is that for guys, it makes us vulnerable. Guys don't have an easy time feeling vulnerable. I probably women also, but they may be a little bit more used to it. The other problem is to not become facetious when you say it. And flat tone. Actually, that's from a different little spiel, but we'll get to there if you'd like. But this idea of, honey, it was our 13th wedding anniversary last night, and when you didn't come home in time and you came home 3 hours late, I felt like you didn't value our relationship. You didn't value me as a partner. You didn't care about I felt like you don't care about the marriage, and I felt like all the work I did to prepare for it wasn't meaningful to you.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that 9 times out of 10, when a man hears that, the man would say, no, honey, you're very important to me.
Right.
I had my coat on. I was about to walk out the door. And you know that one client, that one very important client I had, that I believed will give us the money over the next year to pay for the addition on the house we just built.
Yeah.
And he called me, and if I didn't take his call, we would have lost that, and we would have had to move out. And so I'm there in my coat on the phone with that important client, but it's not about you. I love you, honey, and I value your relationship. Then that's the response you get. Whereas if you go, you son of a bitch, you blew off our anniversary, you're going to get a counter reaction.
Right. Totally.
So this might be one of the answers to your question is to always use principled negotiation, never make accusations, use I statements,
Yep.
try to forge my good friend Niccolo from Florence, you know, Niccolo Machiavelli,
You're a good friend, yeah.
teaches that most people are afraid of conflict.
Right. Totally.
Niccolo says that we should embrace conflict. Conflict is an opportunity because every advancement in society came about as a result of conflict. So if there was no conflict in the world, society would stagnate.
Complacent, yeah.
And you can use conflict and disagreement as an opportunity to forge a better, tighter relationship. By having these discussions, by using I statements, by using principled negotiations, by understanding the other person, why is it that you want this? Why do you want the jelly beans? Why do you think it's fair that you get the jelly bean, that you get all of the jelly beans and I get no jelly beans? And by listening to the other person, so we're probably close to the time that you want me to stop talking, but I will give you a mediator's technique that if your partner is upset with you, I will give you the mediator's technique that will reduce your partner's anger by 50% off the bat. How's that?
Tell me. This is excellent. I'm writing it down.
$1 million advice, right? And this is what I remembered because I let that lead into what I was talking about earlier. Here's the technique. Repeat to the other person why they're upset with you. Now let me give you the caveats, the dangers to it, and then I'll come back and explain it more fully. The danger to it is you can't be facetious when you say it. But if you repeat to them exactly why they're upset. Honey, you're upset because I didn't come home in time last night. Let me see if I understand. You're upset because you had your hair done and you got all dressed up and you made these expensive reservations and you were sitting and waiting for me. And when I didn't come home at 6 o'clock to take you out to dinner, you thought that meant that I don't care for you and I don't value our marriage, I don't value our relationship, and I take you for granted. Am I understanding how you feel? Did I let anything out? Did I leave anything out? And she might say, well, I bought a new dress and I bought new shoes. Okay, you bought a new dress, you bought new shoes, and you went to all this trouble to do that. Did I miss any part of that? Now, again, the difficulty is for us not to be facetious about, let me see if you think that because I didn't come home, you do that, and you're just pouring lighter fluid on.
Right.
But if you repeat an even keel with a flat affect, and you don't, these are all long discussions, so I'm afraid I'm not doing them justice.
You are.
When you say it, now I lost my train of thought. By repeating to the person why they're upset, the person feels heard.
Yeah.
And that's so important for all of us. All any of us really want is to be heard, understood, and accepted for who we are. So part of what I was saying with my ex-wife, wonderful woman, she never got who I was. She didn't value the essence of who I am because her father is somebody completely different than I am. And she valued different attributes than the ones I brought to the table. God bless her. She's a wonderful woman. I don't float her boat. And if you repeat to somebody, I don't care how upset they are, but if you tell them without any facetious, here's what I was going to say earlier. Repeating to somebody why they're upset with you doesn't mean that you have to agree with them.
Right.
So you can, when I'm mediating, This is called reflective listening or active listening.
Mm-hmm.
Repeat back to somebody what they've said to you. And it's a very powerful technique. It comes close to mirroring. It creates a rapport. All mediators are trained to do this. Many psychologists and sales, you learn about this. If I repeat back to what you're saying, not I don't mimic and I don't mirror and I don't monkey and I don't mimic, but I mirror back what you're saying. You feel heard and understood. I was involved in a tense negotiation with somebody, and I was convinced the other person didn't really hear me. And the person was going to go on, and I stopped him, and I said, look, I know you want to go out. Let me tell you something. I can't hear what you're saying until I know you heard me. He goes, I heard you. I'm like,
Right.
no. Repeat back what I said. And in fact, they repeated only one half of it. I'm like, you're not getting it. Let me tell you what you're missing. And we went back and forth 4 or 5 times until he finally got what I said. And the moment I felt understood, the moment I knew he gets me, now he can take me to where he wants to take me. But as long as I feel that I'm not being understood, I'm not ready for you to convince me. I'm not listening to what you're saying.
Right. You check out too.
I check out.
Yeah.
And I can. But this is a function of me being merely mortal. That when I don't feel understood and I'm in the throes of passion, that I can't come along with you.
Mm.
You know how, as a bad analogy, you know how they say if somebody's going to get a bad diagnosis from a doctor, bring along a good friend with a pad of paper?
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment any of us hear a bad diagnosis, our brain shuts down, we go off into our own little world.
Yeah.
And then later that day, a friend goes, oh, he wants you back 2 o'clock tomorrow. Oh, I didn't hear that. He says, I got a 90% chance of recovery. Oh, I didn't hear that. You know, whatever, all of their notes, and we didn't get any of that because we shut down.
Right.
And so the human mind has limited capacity. Andy Rooney says what kids today call multitasking, our mothers used to call not paying attention. So we can just do so much. And so if we know that, if we have a significant other and the person is angry, repeat to them why they're angry with all of its glory, everything that makes them angry. You think you called me and I didn't call you back, and then you tried getting me and I didn't pick up the phone, and you think that means I don't, and maybe even you suspect me of cheating on you, and you think I don't value you as a spouse, right? And if you verbalize it all and the other person feels heard, now you can come back and say, well, let me explain what happened.
Right.
It was a fire drill, and I left my phone, and I didn't have money to get on the train. Whatever the answer is. Or even, you know what, honey, I screwed up. I should have been there. It slipped my mind. I got involved in something, and I forgot about it, and I feel terrible. But while the person is in the throes of anger, they can't accept an apology. It's only once they feel understood that now they can start to come down from under.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you're in a great relationship, if you're in a relationship that has the capacity to become a great relationship, then do everything you can to make it a great relationship. And don't do the things that destroy the relationship. Use I statements. Acknowledge the other person. Listen to them. If they want time, give them time. If they want money or gifts, give them gifts. Some men feel loved if you cook them a meal. I made a girlfriend a cup of coffee, and she started gushing over it. I'm like, it was just a cup of coffee, for goodness sake. You don't understand. For the last 45 years, nobody's done anything for me.
Wow.
I've been the one taking care of my father, my brothers, and my husband, and my children. Nobody's ever done anything for me. You made me a cup of coffee. The first time in 45 years, somebody did something for me. And that was so meaningful to her.
Yeah.
And so understanding, but even being able to ask these questions, what makes you feel loved? And then finding a way every day to do a bunch of little things for your spouse. It may just be a text saying, thinking of you, babe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It may be a simple little thing that doesn't take a lot of time or cost a lot of money or take a lot of effort, but keeping that connection alive and keeping the spark alive.
Mm. Thank you for all this love talk. You've given some great directions. You have.
Life can be so wonderful.
Mm.
The Dalai Lama says that true joy and happiness comes by being of service to others.
Mm.
So my new motto in life is selfishness through selflessness.
Mm. That's good.
Life can be wonderful. We help each other and we make the world a better place. And I do that every day. I defend and represent and protect people when they're at their most vulnerable.
Yeah, you're of service. And again, you said that from the beginning that you did it because you knew that there was a better way.
I try to bring the big world, the big firm professionalism and high quality practice of law, high quality papers down to this area of law. So I wrote a major article, a 60-page article on parental alienation. Parental alienation is when one parent turns their children against another parent. I had the unique pleasure of getting up before the late Justice Robert A. Ross in Supreme Court, Nassau County, in an alienation case, inciting to Judge Ross's own decision, in which Judge Ross cited my article.
Really?
As this court so wisely said, citing that Steinberger dude, whoever he is. And so.
What a big moment.
Yes. So, and just to sort of tie it all and circle all back, my life, viewed at in one way has been an utter failure, viewed at in another way is a smashing success.
Right.
And so I'm doing the work that I love, and I'm having a great time doing it. I've achieved some professional recognition, and I could not have been happier doing it.
And you've got people coming through your door.
I've got people coming through my door.
One last question. What does it mean to break upward?
To break upward?
Mm-hmm. Break upward.
Is that a term I used?
No, that's a term I use. I want to see, and I always ask my guests what they think that would look like. Some people think about breaking down, breaking through, breaking up. What would it mean? What would it look like to break upward?
So if you gave me poetic license to answer that,
mm-hmm.
I'd come back to my friend Nicolo's recipe that all conflict is a recipe for improvement.
Mm.
I wrote an article for the American Bar Association Family Law Section Advocate called Make More Money by Being More Ethical, and I advise lawyers that use every attorney-client fee dispute to forge a stronger relationship with clients. Use anytime you have a disagreement with friends as an ability to sit down and talk and create a better relationship. And as Rahm Emanuel, the chief of staff to President Obama, and some attribute this to Winston Churchill, said, never let a good crisis go to waste.
I love that. I love that line.
As a result of my own divorce, I am now doing the work that I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm helping many people, and I feel very fulfilled, and I found my calling in life. And those people who got into relationships, so presumably everybody who gets divorced is happy, except for those people who are in a relationship and their spouses divorce them and they love their spouses. But even then, if it wasn't reciprocated, there's something off. If I love somebody and I know the other person doesn't love me, at some point if I truly loved somebody, then I want to do what's best for them. If I love somebody and I know they're unhappy in the relationship, it's like fly, birdie, fly. Come back. But if not, I'd rather you be happy than you be caged in with me because I love you. That can't work. And so everybody, I would argue, is better off divorced. If they get divorced, they're better off divorced than being in the relationship, because they would have been better in the relationship, they wouldn't have gotten divorced. And so it's an opportunity to figure out, to take responsibility. What was it that I didn't know? What was it that I wasn't sensitive to?
Mm.
When did my marriage start to fall apart? But I just shrugged it off, shrugged it off, shrugged it off. And then I found out that I was right,
Mm.
that the other party's been cheating for the last 3 years. But I knew it back 3 years ago. I love my work, maybe because I love studying people. But I now have seen why one woman's bad decision has ruined 3 generations of family.
God.
Why the person who, my client married the person they married because of the way a grandparent treated a parent.
Mm.
Okay. I had a client who thought he was a monster, and I was like, no, you're not a monster. Came back 2 days later, he says, hi, my therapist thinks you're a genius. Because I was like, what made you feel that way? So I will, when people come in and we have these conversations, I'll say, okay, when did it change? Oh, it changed 3 years ago. Okay, what happened 3 years ago?
Right.
Why did it change? What happened? So we now get another opportunity to start a new chapter in life.
Mm.
And the chapter can be anything you want it to be. It can be as big as you can dream. How big is your imagination? How big can you dream? And as big as you can dream, that's what your next chapter can be.
Mm. Thank you for this. Where can my audience find you?
So my website is www.thenewyorkdivorcelawyers.com, all spelled out, THENEW, thenewyorkdivorcelawyers.com. If you look for Chaim Steinberger, spelled ChaimSteinberger, if you do a search for it, Google will probably throw me up there. I'm in New York City, around the corner from Bloomingdale's. Every girl's got to know Bloomingdale's.
Yes.
And I take care of my clients with ferocious, relentless integrity.
Yes.
So I love my work. I take care of my clients. I shepherd them through the terror of divorce and give them the safety so that they can have that broader vision, so that they can make the decisions that are not only right for them right now, but also 5 or 10 years later say, I made the right decision. I didn't play a short game and hurt myself long term.
That's so good. I didn't play a short game. Yeah.
I made the decisions that were right for me long term.
Long term.
Because I wasn't stuck in the anger and the vindictiveness. I'll frequently ask people, do you love your children more than you hate your spouse? Right? You're upset with them. Okay. Do you love your children more than that? And usually they're taken aback and they've got to think a moment. And I actually had a couple who were divorcing sent to me by the Supreme Court to mediate because they've been fighting forever. And they had a 19-year-old son. Husband was now living with the woman he cheated on wife with.
Right.
Okay. And they were both scared that now the 19-year-old was going to pull out a blade, shiver, and they would both lose their son. And I was like, okay, do you love your son enough to change and to forgive him, to just let it go? And she's like, yes, but he has to do it first. And I'm like, okay. And so we got to that point. And she was like, I feel disrespected that you're now living with a woman you cheated with me. And to his credit, he looked at her and said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. But it was your fault. I'm like, no, stop right there.
Yeah.
That was good. And so when you talk about a good mediator, a good sort of intermediate, a good neutral, how do you keep the temperatures cool? People say really wonderful things. But when he said, I'm sorry that I hurt you, I'm sorry that what I'm doing now is hurting you. I don't mean to hurt you. I need to follow my heart and live with her. And I'm sorry that hurts you.
Yeah.
That itself was very therapeutic to her. And then, of course, but he couldn't leave it there. He wanted to now pile up on her to justify himself. And I had to stop him.
Yeah.
So that worked. I hope they're doing well. I hope the son never
pulled the blade.
They would do. But I mean, this is human drama. This is what is it called on television? The soap opera. Every day. So this is a story of our lives. And so what could be a higher calling than helping people will get through these really vital things. And if we can do it and give people the tools so that they can do it without the anger, without the victimness. Okay, so I would be betraying you if I didn't share this. Studies show parents who hate each other can stay together and the kids will be okay. They'll grow up perfectly fine. You'll see them at a party 50 years later and you can't tell that there's anything wrong. Parents can get divorced and the kids will be fine. What will permanently damage the children is a long, drawn-out, nasty battle.
Yeah.
The longer the battle, the nastier the battle, the more permanent and the deeper the injury to the children. And the child can now be an adult, 50 years old, and you meet them at a cocktail party, and you sort of back away, and you go, there's something off with that person. And they will never, the children will never recover, they will never socialize properly. And that is just so heartbreaking. And so if we can give people their wherewithal, so somebody the other day at an event said, just tell them, think of your children. I'm like, you can't tell somebody to think of their children. When a woman feels threatened, when a man feels threatened, you can't think of these other. But if you help them get a good result, if I can help a woman feel or a man feel protected and they will get a good result, they will get a result they can live with. You're not going to get killed in the process. We'll work it, we'll make sure, and we'll get you a good result. Now they can start thinking of the children. Now they can say, that's fine, let them take that. And so if we can give people the ability to do that, then we will have made our time on this earth worthwhile.
Got it. Let's continue. On with it.
Yes.
Thank you for talking with me. I hope one day I will pass you in the street near Bloomingdale's, and I want you wearing that cowboy hat that you don't have on currently. I'll be looking for you. Hopefully I won't need you one day, but if I do, you seem like the man to go to.
The prenup?
No prenup. No, you're making me feel like I should not be doing a prenup. I don't want to set myself up for disaster.
Not unless he's there to the Seagram's fortune. You might need a prenup because you need a prenup. But if two young people starting out, they don't need a prenup. If you're coming in, here's the deal. In New York State right now, the law is that whatever you had the day before you were married is yours. Whatever he had the day before you were married is his. Whatever you earn together is the both of yours. Yes, if he has a business and you work on it and the business is worth, but it goes up in value, then they increase in the value of the assets. And there's a distinction between active assets and passive assets. But you've got to have a serious talk about whether that's worth opening the Pandora's box of doing a prenup.
Right.
There are times that it is, but I wouldn't just knee-jerk reaction tell everybody get a prenup. That's a mistake.
Thanks for the advice. Thanks for the counsel.
It was great talking to you, Chelsea. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right. I'll be in touch soon.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.